Welcome to the San Antonio ISD Contingency Plan How-To. We're going to learn how to do a contingency plan using the review process through the Revision ARD 1 and 2 screens. Okay, so we're going to start out, we're going to go to the Special Education ARD forms. And of course, for FERPA reasons, I'm going to be using a fake student. And I've created a special fake student just for today. And that student is called Contingency Sample Plan. I know it's a very original name. I don't know how I came up with it. So, as we normally do when we are creating a review using the revision screens, we go to, get this, the Revision ARD 1 screen. So I'm clicking on the Revision ARD 1 screen. And some of this I have pre-filled as I went through this, no, not 1, 2, 25, 85 times as I was trying to prepare for this today. I would never admit that. So the Revision ARD date of meeting, pretty straightforward, the date of the meeting. We're pretending like this is September 14th. The reason for the meeting, you will see that I have on the how-to. I'm going to show you how I go through it step by step. I am telling you the name of the field and how to fill out the field. The reason for the meeting, enter the applicable reason, either review/contingency planning or review/contingency planning and compensatory services. Very specific, very easy, is not leaving, a whole lot for error. So in this particular case, I'm doing an example for review/contingency planning. Don't worry, I will show you where compensatory services will be entered in if that's necessary. This is often an error that is made in revision ARDs, review ARDs done through the revision screen. The ARD committee met to modify the ARD committee report dated. Look up here. Generally, that is the annual ARD date. This is the annual ARD date. Generally, it's right up here. You might have to go back to your revision screen. This might have your PWN taken into effect. But in this case, this is the annual that I am updating. But read the next statement, and assures that the deliberations of that meeting have been reviewed. And again, in the how-to, I review. Remember, that statement says you've assured that those have been reviewed. And I'm sorry, I skipped this step up here. The interpreter was used to assist in conducting the meeting. If yes, you specify the language. I apologize, I skipped that step. No. If yes, of course, you would use the drop down, select the language, and that's another clue to you that this is an audio recorded meeting, and that audio recording goes to the parent. I apologize that I skipped that. Development of the IEP. Are the present levels of performance different from those detailed in the previous ARD? In the case of what we're talking about right now in contingency planning, it may be more rare that no is the answer, but we always know there's never all or never, all or none. So if no is the answer, read what comes behind no. It says no, discussion determined that no changes in the present level of performance. That means that you actually discussed it, and that was the determination that there were no changes. If yes, then you're going to select the second option for our purposes for contingency planning, and you're going to open up this text box, And in that text box, you're simply going to type "See attached contingency plan," because in that form, you're going to see there's a plat section included, and that's where we're going to include the plats and where any changes have been. So easy peasy on this first part. Now we're going to click next to go to the second screen of the Revision ARD. The first part says, is the ARD committee considering changes to the goals and objectives? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, you could be doing one of two things. Either way, you need to be going into the actual goals so that the goals are changed in the actual IEP for the purposes of it being recorded in the IEP with the goals, and for the report purposes of data collection happening with the IEP goals and objectives, and for the purposes of progress reporting happening with the IEP goals and objectives. So in this example, we're going to say yes. And then we click this Go To button right here, this Go button, this blue arrow. And it takes us directly to the goals. And notice anytime I click one of these Go buttons, all of a sudden, this extra tab, the Return tab, appears at the top, meaning when I click that, it's going to take me automatically where I just came from. So this is how we could address this. Again, as simply an example. I'm finding it's very difficult for me to think of specific situations and how goals would be changed in this day and age of contingency planning for goals. So I apologize, did the best I can. I simply know how you could document it so that it would be printed on the actual goal itself. So there may be two ways. You could go in to revise a goal so that this is the way that it would be if we were meeting in person. So you could come in and you could, at the end of the goal down here, if you kind of see my red cursor, date here, and then just say the goal, this is the goal that's in effect during in-person instruction. See above for the good Lord, I can't speak right now, remote learning goal. Then up here, I know that it says general modifications and accommodations. Ignore that. If you use this box, what it does is it forces the information in this box to print every time this goal prints, either on the IEP or the progress report. It is a great feature to get this information to print. I've used it often and successfully for all kinds of things. So this could be, and again, this could be a very poor example, and I apologize for that. You could date it and put goal in effect with remote learning contingency plan. During remote learning, the student will, and then you would insert your conditions, the behavior, the objective, and the criteria. It could be that simple for if you were revising a goal. If you were coming up and developing a new goal altogether, then this is, of course, how you could do that. You would, again, use this box because you want it to be, you want to call attention to the fact that this was developed strictly for remote learning, that we did our due diligence as part of the contingency plan. So date it, put developed for remote learning / contingency plan, and then the start date, the duration from date, that is whenever you're agreeing that this is going to start. And again, that's going to be marked on the form that we're going to get to here in just a bit. And you're going to develop the rest of the goal just as you would any other goal. Okay, I'm going to click save. And look, my return button is still here, so I can now return to the rest of my Revision ARD screen. I will also call attention to the fact that goals and objectives, we know that when we do revision ARDs, usually we use this revision ARD report and we pull up the things that we want to print and pull automatically into our revision ARD report. But do you see goals listed here? No. So I have to know, and I have to keep in this knucklehead brain of mine, that I need to multi-select goals and make sure that I pull goals into my report when I'm making and creating my report to archive and to print. And I will. Well, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, next. Is the ARD committee considering changes to the students' accommodations? Yes. Now I'm going to show you something a little bizarre. You know, right now we have 2 different accommodation ways to note accommodations in the ARD. We have these 6 old accommodation screens. We have this 1 new accommodation screen. But right now I know that I need to make some revisions to the accommodations for my aptly named contingency. So I'm going to go to accommodations, and this screen alone is where I'm going to make a change. Right here, first, where it says date of accommodation revision, I'm going to put in the date of this review ARD, this revision ARD. I'm going to put the date, and then I'm going to come down here to accommodations. And in accommodations, I'm going to put contingency plan accommodations, and I'm going to list what those are. Because these are really just the things that my student contingency, it's getting a little confusing. I really didn't think that through well, did I? Needs just during this time. And you'll read more as we get into the form for this student, why this makes sense for her. She needs emphasis on major points, reduced length of assignments by at least 25%, reduced multiple choice items to 3 choices, and additional time on assignments and assessments, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to click Save. I know that this student right now has all of her accommodations in this new screen. She has none of them over here. What I learned as I was playing around with this is I cannot get, I'm going to go back to it, this box to print unless I come down here to revision reports, and I check both of these. What you have to make sure is that you clear out the one that's not being used. So let me show you a quick trick. Let me go back to accommodations. Sorry, I'm taking a little side trip here on you, but I want you to know this for your teachers. If your teachers aren't using this one, a quick way to clear all this, yes, they could clear all the check boxes, or they could double click and get rid of all the, I don't want to do it for this student because obviously this is my example. They could double click and get rid of all of the subjects and it wouldn't print. If they want to get rid of all of these, there is an easy, and I just learned this a few weeks ago and I feel like a complete idiot. There's a clear all button on all of these screens for the old buttons. But bottom line is, in order for that one little box to print where we added the contingency plan accommodations to print, we have to have them check both of these boxes. It's the only workaround. But we don't want 2 sets of accommodations printing, so they need to make sure there's only 1 set of accommodations in the IEP. Okay, moving on. Is this ARD conducting a manifestation determination? Generally, that shouldn't be the case, but clearly sometimes it's unavoidable. In this case, no. If it were, then you would move on and hit the go button just like you normally would and conduct business as usual. Again, the next situation, the same thing. Is the ARD committee considering changes to the behavior intervention plan? Yes or no? We only use the behavior intervention plan. We don't use the BIP brief. We only use the functional behavioral assessment. We don't use the functional behavioral plan. So again, if those needed to be addressed, you would click the go-to buttons and complete those as you normally would for any ARD. Actually, hold on just a second. I might have just lied to you. I hate to be a liar, but sometimes I do it, and I don't mean to. The functional behavior plan, only select yes or no. The behavior plan will be strictly addressed in the contingency plan. I am so sorry. See, I lied to you. I lied to you. So if there is a change to the behavior plan, you're only going to select yes, and any changes are strictly going to be changed in the contingency plan form. I apologize. I apologize. But I corrected myself, so that's the good thing. All right. The next piece is the ARD committee considering changes to the student's schedule of services. Same thing as the behavior plan that we just saw. Only select yes or no. The schedule of services will be strictly addressed in the contingency plan form. So you're only selecting yes or no. That's the only place that we're going to address it in the contingency plan. All right. Now, transportation. Is the ARD committee considering changes to the student's transportation supplement? Yes or no? If yes, then you can go to the transportation supplement, and clearly during times of remote learning, you're not going to be adding it, but it may come up inevitably and you have to deal with it. We're going to want to meet a parent's needs. But you will also notice on the revision reports is transportation listed on here? No. So if you are adding transportation, then of course that is something that would need to be addressed. Of course, transportation is also a related service that would need to be addressed on the contingency plan and in the schedule of services as well. So you have to, again, remember to pull that into the report as a separate, and I say this here. So if selecting yes, you have to follow additional instructions to select this report when creating, archive, and printing, because transportation is not an available option in the Revision ARD reports. Let me go back and show you here. When I showed you about the goals and objectives and how to do the measurable goals and objectives, I have a hyperlink here within this goal. Sorry, of course, it's not going to work while I'm showing you. But within this document, there's a hyperlink, and it will take you down here to show you additional how to deal with the goals right here. Additional details for completing the portions, the measurable annual goals. So you can come down here and it tells you how to deal with the goals. And then the same with and then it'll take you back up to the Revision ARD screen. And the same with the accommodations. It tells you about how to deal with the accommodations, and then you can click this and it takes you back up to the Revision ARD screens. So it's a pretty friendly form. Okay, let's go back into, now we have a state district assessment, yes or no. And you would need to make any changes actually in the IEP itself. So you would use the go button. Then, of course, you're pulling up the Revision ARD reports. The minimum that you have to check is the signature page. The signature page pulls not just the signature page, it pulls the assurances, it pulls the destruction of records screen, it pulls the prior written notice, and it pulls the end of ARD screen. So the signature page is the minimum. If you haven't changed anything at all up here, you have to check signature page. You have to click save and then close window. Don't worry about validate PEMS. We don't have our SIS and eSPED don't validate PEMS together yet. If there was a change in the school's campus, then of course that would be changed here. If there was a change in the instructional setting, then that could be changed here. And then here is where your revision ARD deliberations would be taken. Again, this is simply a very brief example. I'm not saying this is even a good example. The ARDC is meeting to review examples, current progress and develop a contingency plan deemed necessary for times of remote learning. Attached to the report is a contingency plan outlining any changes, revision to examples IEP when moving to remote instruction. The ARDC members present are indicated on the signature page. After discussion and review, all members are in agreement with portions of the contingency plan. Clearly, it needs to be a little more detailed and include more discussion than that. That was just giving you an example of that's where your deliberations go. Add attachments. This is simply, it's similar to the review of ARD screen. The review of ARD actually does not pull into the revision screens once you go to the assurances pages and signature pages. It doesn't pull into this, and it doesn't actually pull those reports. It's simply an aesthetic to let the reader of the report know to look for these attachments. So I need to look for the accommodations pages. I need to look for goals and a contingency plan. And then we would be going to the assurances pages and blah, 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 blah. But I'm not going to sign and do all that yet because, Jennifer, you haven't gotten to the contingency plan yet. You've walked me through how to do a revision. Done a smash up job except for your little flub here earlier. But let's get to how am I supposed to be doing a contingency plan. Let me show you. So I am going to scroll all the way down to the very bottom where it says forms. And right here, before I do anything else, you know, with all of our supplements, it says, if checked, print with the full ARD with supplements report. Well, by golly, I want this to print. So I am checking that box. I know I haven't even added the form yet, but I'm checking that box now. Now it says, no, there's no forms even added yet, but I'm gonna add one. It says there's no template. We'll click the down button. Oh, look, it says contingency plan. Oh, how convenient. I'm gonna click it and then I'm gonna say, okay. And now, look. It has added in the SAISD Contingency Plan form. Now, I'm doing this and I'm prepping this prior to my ARD. I really need this to be my ARD date. So I'm going to put in the 14th. Okay. It's saying it's submitted by, if I'm the case manager, that's just fine. The effective date for this plan, again, PWN would come in for this. I'm anticipating we're going to start it on that date. Okay. An interpreter assisted in completing this form, mark X under the appropriate column. Remember, we already said on my revision, no. Oh, sorry, no. Okay, present levels. Enter the student's PLAF statements here. The PLAF statements in this section may come from the student's current IEP, but should also address the extent to which the student's disability impacts his or her participation in instruction in the remote setting. Let me show you in the how-to how this is addressed. And see, I'm showing you here, we're going to be going back to the assurances page, the signatures and all that, but first we have to add the contingency plan. We're going to have to come back to this later. But let me show you how I'm addressing this part of the how-to. I'm showing you the step from the information that Gina had you review, and then I'm showing you what it looks like in the form itself. So you remember that first step where it said complete all the student identifying information? Well, originally that's what we thought we were going to have to do before eSPED came up with this feature. Now we know that we already have all this identifying information on everything in eSPED. So that's the beauty of this new forms feature in eSPED. We do, however, have to add this effective date. And of course, now we have this new feature here, the interpreter being, what did an interpreter assist? Of course, that's what it looks like here. The PLAFs, here's that explanation from the step that Gina had you review. So this is your side-by-side comparison. And I just wanted to bring your attention to that. This is how you're really the explanation of what really is going in to these forms, into the form itself. I'm simply giving you an example of, how it could be completed. So contingency disability in math calculation and problem solving is significantly impacting her ability to not only comprehend the complexity of the work assigned, but she needs, finds it is a struggle without a lot of extra help and time. Her parents explain she is often in tears and they are unable to provide the help she needs. She's really just struggling at home a lot. So academic and functional goals enter the goals that will be implemented for the student here. Be sure they address any changes resulting from the move to remote instruction. So rather than have goals here that you can't really track, and have data collection down here that you can't really track, we're going to have them in the IEP. So this is what we're going to signify here. See attached annual goals regarding contingency plans specific to goals, which is why we want them marked contingency plan or remote learning, my mouth is not working. Okay, and then in this next section where it talks about data collection, I want to specifically call attention to one of the screens right here. Ensure on the contingency plan on step 5, it says ensure progress monitoring occurs in eSPED. How are we supposed to do that if the goals aren't in eSPED? Was one of my first questions. So here we go. All goals, including those identified specifically for the contingency plan, are included in the annual goals of the IEP. Data collection and progress reporting on all goals will proceed as is the normal practice. Secondary transition in this example is not applicable. Supplementary aids and services, again, here's just a statement. At this time, contingency struggles will be addressed via goals, accommodations, scheduled services, related other services, accommodations. See attached accommodations regarding contingency planning specific to accommodations. And then behavior plan, again, remember, Even though I kind of had a little brain moment, knucklehead moment there. Any changes or updates or revisions to the behavior plan will be done strictly here in this section. Fortunately for Contingency here, has no behavior issues. Her behavior does not impact her or that of her peers. Thank goodness. Okay, and the same with the schedule of services. That would be done strictly here. So bear with me, guys. I haven't ever done an actual schedule of services on an SAISD campus, specifically not one at an elementary campus. So y'all bear with me, but I'm gonna try to give it my all here. Geez, I know that's important. And yeah, don't laugh at me, just bear with me and pretend that I did a spectacular job. Okay. General ed curriculum, modified, no. Was it modified for this one? Yes. Modified for this one? No, 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 no. Now, for this, I don't know. This is really what does y'all's schedule look like right now during remote learning? And I don't know what that looks like. So this is the best I can do to give you an example of, you would put what, and it might be 15 minutes of the time that's being provided. I'm sorry, I honestly don't have a realistic view of what that is right now. And I'm sure it varies from grade level to grade level or campus to campus. And it is provided remotely. And then who's the progress or grade determined by? Again, that looks very similar. I hope I didn't go through that too fast without just looking the other way. Okay, so here, one of the things that we discussed for little compensatory was she needed some counseling services. She's just really not doing well during all of this time, and she needs some help. So one time a week, we're going to provide some counseling services, or some counseling services are going to be provided for her for 15 minutes. And that's going to be direct. Sorry, it'll be individual. And we're also going to provide some math in, class support daily for 15 minutes. It sounds like she just can't get it together. And like we do in the typical part of the related other services part of the ARD, because this is the related other and compensatory services part of the ARD, that would be as a group, because there may be others. So this is the part where if it was needed, and so I'm going to do this. This is not the case for this student, so I'm going to simply do this in a different color. If it were necessary, you would put compensatory, services, and then what that looks like. Clearly, the example of what that would look like, the frequency, the duration. Why does that keep doing that to me? The frequency, duration, and whether that's direct, indirect, and but that's how compensatory services, that's where it would be reflected. Okay. And then any decisions regarding the services the student will receive that are not already captured should be entered below. And I also want to remind you, or to encourage you, or to let you know, when this prints, all this extra space is going to print. I tried ad nauseum to get rid of this space in so many ways, it's embarrassing. I have unsuccessfully, but you can go on and on and on and on. You can add as much as you want. I just cannot get that extra space out of there. And for here, I'm just going to put NA. We didn't have anything else to say at this point. That's that. So I'm done, and now I have to click the blue save button, or I've lost my work and it didn't exist. So now look, I have this beautiful contingency plan, and if I need to, I can go in and edit it. If I feel like I totally screwed it up and I want to take another shot at it, I could add it again and try to redo and delete this one. I would suggest editing instead. But you need to select this checkbox. So now I have, if checked, print with the full ARD with supplements report, and check the form date. All right, now I'm going to click save just because it feels good. Now, am I done? No, 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 no. Remember, I have to go back to my Revision ARD 2 screen because we still have to go through my assurances and the rest of that process. And then we still have to compile all my report. So, assurances. Assurances are read by Ms. Administrator, the principal. That gets done. Oh, access to records, destruction of records, blah, blah, blah. That gets done. This does not get pulled into the report. It can get skipped. The review of committee decisions does not get pulled into the report. Okay, this is my signature page. We need to update the date of the meeting. The date of the meeting is what? 9/14/20. Update the date of the meeting. Oh, and looky here, we have Mr. Manplan, Ms. Administrator, Ms. Jeanette, and Special Edward. Those are our participants. They have all signed and agreed. They are spectacular. That's fantastic. And now we have our, oh, sorry, all y'all's screens probably look a little bit different. Our prior written notice, making sure that we have an updated date, that everything from the previous ARD was cleared out. Now again, this is an example only. We have a proposed contingency plan for periods of remote learning. The contingency plan proposal includes a revised goal and an additional goal for remote learning times, additional accommodations to use during remote learning, addition of counseling as a related service, addition of in-class support in math. Based on, what's the explanation? Based on all available data and reports, contingency needs additional support for her and her academic success in math, description of other options, continuing to collect data at the beginning of the year, waiting for the student to return to in-person learning. That's not a practical solution. That will help the student Make progress as soon as possible. What data did we use? Parent comments, concerns, preferences regarding distance learning, full and individual evaluations, school records, and status reports from teachers. This is just the last time that the procedural safeguards was given. That should already be filled in. That was the last time that the parent signed for the procedural safeguards. This is the case manager information. I'm going to go to my next screen. Hopefully everyone is in agreement and I have checked. I'm going to show you on the how-to because I've color coded it. On the how-to, I have color coded this end of ARD screen to help you maybe visualize it a little better. This part of the end of ARD screen is only applicable if there is not mutual agreement. So some people fill this in because it says something about procedural safeguards, but that's only because we're required to give procedural safeguards if there's not, again, if there's not mutual agreement. This part is about the waiving the PWN and going ahead and starting now. And this part is only applicable if it's an initial. Okay, so just a little explanation to try to clear up maybe any fuzzy parts for you. So dad was there, dad participated, and the duration of the related services. Now we really need to update this to the new date. And no, it's not initial. So now I'm going to save this. And I have completed the actual revision report and the contingency form, but now I have to create, archive, and print my report. So to do that, I'm going to go to my reports tab, and I'm using the reports tab because I'm going to be printing and pulling multiple reports. So once you go to the reports tab, from the screen drop down, you go to number 2, print multiple reports. Again, this is all part of the how-to, guys. You're going to first select Revision ARD and click Add. Oh, you know what? This special form is called ARD student forms. That's going to be the hardest thing for everyone to remember. It's not just called forms, it's called ARD student forms. Gotta add that. I know that my accommodations are automatically going to pull because I checked them in the Revision ARD reports on that screen. I know my signatures are automatically going to pull. What else was it that I needed? Ah, my goals. I got to pull my goals. So I'm coming to the eStar full ARD. That doesn't mean it's printing the full ARD. It's only pulling the goals and objectives. So I've got to add that one. But I want that to print before my revision. I mean, before my ARD student form, before my contingency plan. So I'm going to click this button down here and move it up. Now I will admit, because the accommodations and signature pages are all going to print with the revision, it's going to be a little cattywampus, but it is what it is. All the information's going to be there, and that's what's the most important thing. All right, so I've got my things here. Most important thing is that the revision ARD is first and the ARD student form, which is the contingency plan, is last. I'm going to click create, and it takes me automatically to view prepared reports. And I see right here my contingency sample plan. It's a working, it's a thinking. Not as hard as I've had to, I'm sure. Probably doesn't have a headache. It's really working. Okay, now it's done. Now it's done. I'm going to view it. View it, view it, view it. Okay, look. Look, that's how I got it to print right there. Okay, okay. I know it looks a little funny because it prints those things first. But see how it forces it to print right here? Who cares that it says general modifications and accommodations? Does not matter. And then here is my contingency plan. Yeah, has all this extra space. Again, guys, tried again. So that is the plan. There it is. But we're not going to print from here because that's not a good practice, because this is what happens. Folks print from here and they have a hard copy and they go, okay, wash my hands clean, I'm done. No, we're not printing from here. We are going to go back to the viewer and we are going to go to next. We view it, and then if we find errors, we go back and we correct the errors. We go to archive prepared reports and we select archive type. Now we do have SPED as an archive type. We find our folder, which is 2021, and our archive comment is going to be Review Contingency Plan, and then the date. And then I'm going to find the right one, and ours was Contingency Plan Sample, and I'm going to click Archive. And then I'm going to go to Next, and it's going to take me automatically to Contingency Plan Samples Archive. And sure enough, here it is. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to make sure this is what I wanted by clicking View. Yes, 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 yes. Yep, that's the one I wanted. And I'm still not done. I'm clicking Edit. I want the comment that I made to be my title. We need to have uniform, consistent titles so that they are easy to find for anyone who is looking for them. Having all these auto archive, blah, 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 blah titles is ridiculous for people to try to find what they need. So I'm going to copy and paste that comment. And that is now the uniform protocol title. And I'm going to click Save. See how much nicer that is to find. Review Contingency Plan rather than Revision ARD, start full ARD, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't really tell me very much. And now I can click View because I already know it's archived. And now I can print. Bada bing, bada boom. And I think that is all I have to say about that, folks.
This concludes our presentation on contingency planning. If you have any questions regarding this presentation, please contact us at the emails provided here. Thank you.